Hi everyone, this is Fanny from Backward Story, and I'm here with another cover design post. I haven't done one of these in a while, and I want to do a design post today more so for the interior than the exterior of the book, although I still think it's really interesting the way there's so much texture to all of the books that are by Ellen Hopkins, and the way they look like they've been burned into or whatever, like just different effects like that. I think that's really cool. Like in Burned, Smoke has diary entries, journal entries from Peyton every so often, and this time you get this really cool texture on the page that mimics the texture of the cover, and I really like that about it. It's just a normal journal entry in the other book, but in this one it actually mimics the cover of the book, and so that is one thing I really do like about the interior design of Smoke that I wanted to especially point out to you today. I really want to look at the inside of the books with you because these are done in verse, and I think Burned in particular has a very interesting texture to the design that I haven't seen in Smoke or the other Ellen Hopkins books I've read, Tilt. So Burned is very different in terms of how the interior structure looks when it comes to the verse. For example, with Tilt, most of the pages are just, you can see right there, the structures are very similar on all of the different pages. And same thing with Smoke. The structure is very similar on all of the pages. Not every single one, but a good majority of them. And Burned isn't really like that. And then they also changed the covers to some of the books, which I guess I can mention before I go into everything else. You can see these are the original book covers, and in particular Crank and Glass and Fallout. And then with the new books, like even the ones that are the same cover have a different texture to them now, but Crank, Glass, and Fallout also have completely different covers now. So if you go into the store, don't be surprised if you see them look different. But anyway, we're talking about the interior design of Burned here, and I think it's so interesting. I don't know if it's because this is one of her older titles, and Smoke and Tilt are her newer titles, and maybe her writing style has just changed. I don't really know, but I just want to show you in Burned. I marked up some pages to take a look at. Early on, we have this structure, and you've got like this side of the page and then that side of the page, and you've got markings down the middle. And then maybe I'll just stop so that I'm not wasting up your time moving things. This is something that I see often. Usually it'll be the side of the page here and then the one word here, but I like the way you have two poems, for lack of a better word, within one. So you have the story and you have this, and then it goes here, and then this thing, and it goes here. But if you read down just the middle, it's also a story in and of itself. It says, she looked as if she might disappear. So that's a story in and of itself. She looked as if she might disappear, but it's also part of this sentence. So I think that's really cool. This is another passage that describes what I was just talking about. You have the sentence split over to here. So, you know, the ride home was more relaxed. But if you read here, so this is part of this, but then if you read here, it says relaxed, at ease, Ethan and I felt right, felt perfect. And that's a story in and of itself. So the words still line up, and I think that's really hard to do, and I like that Ellen Hopkins is so thoughtful and does that and turns one story into two and makes it more complex and makes it go deeper, and I like that about her. I think this is my favorite structure of all of the ones from Burned. It looks like teardrops on the page, and I think that's fitting because this passage is about being sad, and I just really like the way they look like teardrops, and I think that's really, really interesting, and I like the way that Ellen Hopkins is playing with structure in this book. And here's another passage with a really interesting structure. They're talking about spaghetti, and you sort of have a spaghetti strand here, and this is the way you read the sentence, and I think that's pretty interesting too. And a third interesting sentence structure, they kind of look like eagles, little V's here, and I think that's also very unique and interesting. Here's a fourth interesting sentence pattern, and you read it this way and then this way, and sometimes it's just interesting to try to figure out how to read something and what direction it's going in. How do you read this one, for example? Do you go up and down? Do you go sideways? Is it horizontal? Is it vertical? It's hard to say because no matter which direction you try to read it, the sentences don't exactly line up. They're just random words that are being thought at a certain time. And sometimes, I think this is the only one that you really can't decipher one way or the other, but even then it's just a scattering of thoughts, and it still manages to reflect life and what is being thought at a given time, which is incredibly hard to do. And the last shape I'll outwardly show you is this one, and I like the way that it curves when you read it, and I just really like the way Ellen Hopkins is playing with shape in this book, and you don't see this so much with her other books. And I don't know if it's because this is an older style and she doesn't experiment that way anymore, if it works for some books and not the others. I mean, this book right here is told completely in one point of view, while this one is told in 2 points of view, and this one is told in multiple points of view. So, I don't really know if it's different because of that or what. I haven't read all of Ellen Hopkins' books. There are still several that I haven't read. I've only read these so far, but just the pattern is very different in Burned than it is in the other two. And I just wanted to take a minute and just show you the beauty of verse that maybe you don't see if you haven't read the book or haven't tried. And I thought it would be hard to get into myself, and it's very easy to fall into and still be able to pick up the story and care about these characters. When I finished reading Burned, I immediately had to start reading Smoke, and I'm so glad that I have a copy here and I didn't have to wait a few years like everyone else did. Same thing with Till. I hadn't been interested in reading the adult book Triangles, and I wanted to after doing this, despite the fact that I can't really, relate to characters going through midlife crises. I am not at that point in my life. I can't comprehend that, but I wanted to read it after reading Till to see what happened to these characters and where life took them. And I think Ellen Hopkins is really good about making you care about the characters. So it's still very readable, even if you have trouble with verse. Oh, and look, we've got some dogs running through the yard now. That must be what that yelling is. Anyway, that is everything from me for today, and hopefully I'll be doing more of these cover and interior videos in the future, because I've gotten away from that, and I'd really like to go back to it. So that is everything from me this week. I will talk to you again soon. Have a great day.